We finally did it. We got Doni and Jeff. They had to go to the library to get the internet. It's hell being free, but we're going to be free anyway. Aquarian Anarchy right back at you. Let's go. Oh, all right. Sorry. Man, I got too many things going on at one time. This quote for this week is from Sri Ramakrishna. The winds of God's grace are always blowing. It is for us to raise our sails. All right. Sorry about that, y'all. Okay. It's the moment we've all been waiting for. Doni the Don and Jeff, what are you, the awful pundit today?
I'm the awful pundit right now.
You're the awful pundit right now.
That's how I identify.
Welcome back. You guys have both been here multiple times separately, but now you're here together. Tell us why you're here together.
Well, we're out here together in Kentucky and hanging out, and
wait a minute, you're not related, are you?
God, I hope not.
No, it's a valid question. Mountains in Kentucky, you might be related.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's right next door in Indiana. I know it is.
Yeah, say goodbye to all of your Kentucky viewers.
All two of them.
Yeah.
And they're on the screen.
That's right. They're on the screen. So we say goodbye now, or do we? No. So tell us about it, because you, Jeff, you were living in Texas, and Doni was already living in Texas, but you came from California to Texas, then you went to Florida, then back to Texas, and Doni, you've been in Texas all along, right? And then
until now.
And then y'all moved to Kentucky together. So what brought you together? What drove you to Kentucky?
Yeah, what were the incentives?
Actually, Jeff is still in Texas. He's just here with me right now.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm still a Texan, technically.
Yeah, I'm not very good at grifting. So I stay on a farm, so it's cheaper for me to travel and do the work that I do. So that's why I'm in Kentucky.
Gotcha.
Well,
so you were asking about our origin story?
Yes. Golly, you know what it is. Come on now. And we didn't set this up a month and a half ago to not talk about the big elephant in the room.
Right. Yeah, Chad's drinking tea right now. That's what's going on. So
just water, but yeah.
So we met like 2 years ago, and it's interesting because I had my podcast going, which I still do, and if you guys have followed me for a while, I'm always preaching about how important local politics is and how we need to be focusing on that. And also I would talk about the grifters, the people who are pretending to run for office. So the ones that get out there and like, hey, I'm black and I'm a Republican. Come vote for my Senate race that I'm not really trying to win, but I want to get clicks, clout, and cash.
Yeah. Right.
I would constantly warn people about that. And one of the things that I used to always say is, when you're watching these MAGA politicians, or I don't care if they're MAGA or not, don't just assume that they're the real deal. One of the things I always used to say is one of the ways you can tell if a candidate is real is by going to their website and seeing if they talk about policy. Mm-hmm. So at that time, Doni was running for mayor of Arlington, Texas. And people knew that I was very adamant about that stance. And I can't remember who it was, but somebody brought Doni to my attention. And they were telling me, she's running for local office. She's running for mayor, yada, yada, yada. And then I went to her website, and not only did she have policy on it, she had under each different policy topic, she had a short video describing her stance on that policy, like 30 seconds to a minute, something like that, so that people can get an idea what she stands for. I'm like, okay, I was impressed. And when it comes to politicians, it's very hard to impress me.
Yeah.
So I was like, and nowadays it's
hate the player, hate the game. Come on now.
and so I was like, I got to get her on my show. So I reached out and had her on my show, and that's when we met, and we had been friends for a while. And then last year, like around December, is basically when we got together. It was actually the first time that we met in person. But we would talk on the phone, text, and stuff like that. But we were always really good friends, and it kind of developed out of that. I don't want to monopolize the time here.
Yeah, it was really fun to watch y'all go to these like shit kicker conventions and stuff like that, where y'all are walking around in mud and boots and at like rodeos and stuff and everything, and talking to people. But y'all, it was, I enjoyed like the first one that I saw where y'all were together. It was like you guys just had an opportunity to speak from a policy standpoint and from like a localization standpoint, and people were really receptive. From what I saw, people seemed really receptive to it and kind of embraced that this wasn't just it wasn't some I don't know, Rob Smith kind of stuff, you know. So anyway, Donnie, go ahead. You were about to jump in.
Yeah, it's okay. Y'all men like to skip some steps too, you know. So what happened is, as well, we were doing spaces together. We had Liberty Spaces. We started working a lot together, and I'm really much so a homebody, like a hermit, like literally, unless I'm out advocating and doing work, I don't go and socialize really anymore like that. So he was trying to come and hang out with me, and I made an excuse. I was busy, and so I felt bad, and I called him back and said, "Okay, I'm really not busy. I just don't hang out with people." And he's gonna drive to Dallas area so that we could hang out. And I was just like, okay, I feel bad. And then what's crazy is it's New Year's Eve. My parents didn't have anything planned, but then they were like, "Oh, Donnie, can you come to the New Year's thing?" And he's supposed to come that day. And I was like, "Oh, I just told him I'd do this." And then like, okay, I felt bad. So I just hung out with my parents for the day, hung out with Jeff since then. I went to use the restroom. I was thinking, do I like him? Like, do I really, really like him like that? And so here we are, and almost inseparable since December 31st.
That's wonderful.
Jeff Charles Rizmeister. Yes, that's right.
You know, for all the stuff we talk about and all the politics and all of that crap and taking down the state, what you guys are doing, that's what's important. That's life. You know, coming together, love is the most important thing we've got in this world. And when two people can find commonality like you guys have, grab on. I know I was lucky to find somebody like that. Chad was lucky to find somebody that matched him. We're trying to get Nicco somebody. But you know,
for a minute there, I was trying to link Nicco up with Donnie, but you know, well, look, man, you're slow to the game.
I have my feet wet already. My feet wet, and I'm held down at the moment. So yes, Nicco's in a relationship as well.
Oh, let's go.
Good.
All right.
Congrats.
Thank you.
So why Kentucky?
Well, it's actually one of the directors' farms up here, an organization. They're like, "Girl, yeah, come on up here. So it could be a lot cheaper for you. Like game fowl eggs are so amazing. Like farm life is cool. I grew up in the country, but I never grew up on a farm. Now I've been living in the city for a while, and so yeah, the city has bugs, but you know, there's a lot of bugs on farms. And so, and so, you know, I'm getting used to it, but like I really like it. It's so peaceful. I like hearing the roosters crowing. Honestly, I've been talking to Jeff. I've been trying to get him to think about Kentucky being an option. It's a lot cheaper. And I feel like we can have more political pull there, ones of the size. And we're already associated with people with some kind of pull. And, you know, I've been trying to work with the Libertarian Party. So I don't know. I feel like Kentucky could be like the New Hampshire Free State they're talking about. I'm just saying.
Shade.
Well, it's almost one of those things that you know, they say you're not supposed to tell the devil you're leaving. You're just supposed to leave. It's like the Free State Project was so like blown out of proportion to where it was like you telegraphed your movement, and they were just like, "Oh, so we just need to come over here and then hijack it." All right, gotcha. Bet we're on it. And it seems like that's exactly what's happened. And maybe it'd be better just don't say anything. Shh, keep it quiet, but just do your thing over there and start building. But I want to dig into that thing, you know, with like the Libertarian Party, because when I met Jeff was a I think a liberty-minded, but very much a conservative, and like the publications you write for or have written for, very, red state and all, a lot of these where it's like, okay, this is very Republican-y, conservative-y, and we had some conversations and sort of similar things with Donnie, but I think Donnie was already going through, like, Donnie was already eviscerating the Constitution. I think when we met her, she was, or she was at the very least telling people like, y'all aren't even living up to this thing. Shut up. Stop talking about it if you're not going to actually like uphold it. And so I want to talk about how, as we came into contact with each other and started to have some of these conversations, you guys asked some very probing questions of us. And it looks like maybe we answered them appropriately. I don't know. But also, like, who else have you been rubbing elbows with and everything, where you've kind of come to where you are politically, because it's a bit of a shift, right, from where you were 2 years ago to where you are now.
It's a shift, but it's kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for?
Evolution.
Yeah, kind of an evolution. But the thing is, my beliefs haven't really changed all that much as far as ideology. I mean, by the time I got to your show, I already wanted to be an anarchist. I'm like, I would love for this to be the case. I had some questions, and I had, just like I do with everything, I had some doubts, but I'm like, none of this is working. And to me, it's like, I just kind of needed more of a reason. And your show was a big part of that. It was nice to be able to talk to some anarchists and have conversations, anarchists who actually know their stuff. And I was more in the camp of, I am more liberty-minded. My beliefs align way more with libertarianism than with even conservatism, although I do consider myself a conservative in a personal sense. I just don't want to push it on other people. But I was more in the camp of, well, maybe people like us should take over the Republican Party and actually get it to do what it says it's going to do, right? And I was in that camp for years, and I had a feeling that at some point I was going to jump ship if it wasn't working. I was always keeping an eye on the liberty movement, on the Libertarian Party. I knew all about how the Mises Caucus took over. I met Mike Heiss at the Solutionary Summit.
Quick question. While you were still on the conservative wave, did you ever have like a real strong hope, like, yeah, we can make the change, opposed to just the ideas that were just flowing through your head of how to make the change?
Well, I figured, I mean, both parties were crap, but the Republican parties, at least from what they say, are closer to what I want than Democrats are. And I still kind of think that of like regular conservatives, even though they're really not where I think they should be. It's not the same. So to me, it was more like, can we take this over? And there's still people in there trying to take it over. And I say, good luck. But around November, during the midterms, after that election, and I saw how they behaved afterwards, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I had already said, if they're not going to get it together, and the Libertarian Party or the Liberty Movement seems like they're starting to get their crap together, I will easily jump ship, because I'm more in line with those guys anyway. And I just couldn't do it anymore. And Donnie had already gone through that evolution. And then that's kind of going back to what you were saying, Marcus, about being with somebody who shares your beliefs and your mission. That's kind of how it materialized. So both of those transitions kind of came about kind of a parallel to one another.
That's a good thing.
Donnie, is that true?
I think
and how did you kind of come to where you are?
Yeah, I believe so, because I was heavily saying both parties suck. We don't need any parties at all. I was looking at the Articles of Confederation, and a couple of times when I would post my ideologies, Jeff would challenge me in the comment section. And I didn't always have the answers for the questions that were asked, because, I was still learning too. Thanks to you guys, you introduced me to one of my most favorite people in the entire world, is Lysander Spooner.
My birthday buddy. That's right. Let's go. Shout out to the January 19th homie, Lysander Spooner. Let's go.
Yes. And so I've learned so much, and so over time, like, it started really too, like, after the 2020 election, like I told you after we talked, and how Trump responded and how it wasn't really a liberty movement, but they were just saying they're a liberty movement. And like ever since I was a kid, I never liked either party. And then I liked Ron Paul, but I fell for the whole thing where he can't win, and he's running out the GOP, and it's like, okay. And then Trump came along and somehow just tear this down, drain the swamp. And I'm like, yes, right,
Yeah,
and I fell for it.
Sounds good. Yeah.
And then I'm sitting there looking at who he was endorsing. Oh, I thought you said rhinos and stuff. Why are you endorsing these terrible people in Texas? And then I watched them in my own election. I watched the Republican parties, little cliques, little groups of Republican people pushing for a Democrat. So it's just like, this is all an illusion. And this is my thing with the local elections and local stuff. A lot of these things wouldn't occur if people knew better. So what can I do to start educating people? First, I have to really educate myself. Now, I've always felt confident in what I believe, but I feel really confident in what I believe to a point where people on Twitter is like, you might not want to debate her. She knows what she's talking about.
Right.
And so it's so big to me. And then watching what's happening to the small farmers and what the government's doing and how they've given these AR group people basically a gun and badge to come and steal people's animals. It's just like, I can't even go back. When I go on Twitter and I see people going back and forth about my team is great and my team is this, it's so frustrating. Like, there's things going on in the world right now that's so real that you don't get it. And then you got Don't Trend on Me on your page, but yet you're over there talking about comply to complete beating their butts and stealing their stuff. Like, oh, look, they steal all this guns and money from people. My eyes is like opened up. It's like you ask for the wisdom and you get it, and then no one else has it. It feels a little uncomfortable sometimes. So it's nice to be able to wake up every day and before I go to bed at night, talk to someone like Jeff and be around him who gets it, because some people just don't get it and they don't want to talk about it or any of those things. But I just honestly, you guys helped me pivot. I asked the questions, y'all answered it, and you directed me to certain things to read. And by the way, Lysander Spooner's Vices Aren't Crimes, I think really helped me become an anarchist. I'm helping libertarianism because right now people want to be ruled over. And how best can I have an anarchist lifestyle if I can find a party that will leave you alone and to be able to live that life? So and then also they had reached out. The Libertarian Party of Texas, Mises Caucus Chair, they reached out to us where Republicans never did that. I didn't put any work in for the Libertarian Party yet, or endorse them or anything quite like that yet. And they reached out, wanted to have a conversation. What can we do to work with the communities you're with, or how can we work with the Black community? So they like to reach out and do all that. And then they've come to some of these shows.
Yeah, they've been showing up.
And then in Texas, we have another event in the Game File community. And Angela's supposed to go to it. Spike was supposed to go, but he can't now. Some other leading big name libertarians are going to be at that event. My thing is, I think the Libertarian Party can take over rural America pretty easy because the Republicans have ignored them. They have been working with, I'm gonna call them National Socialists because that's what these AR groups are, and working with them to create laws to take people's rights away. And then these is not just laws to take your animals away. They're going to take your property away. They're going to let civilians sue you for your own property. Yeah. And so Republicans are in on it. If you look at the bills, the D's and R's are pretty much equal on going after rural America, and they're letting cities decide for rural America on what rural America can do.
Oh, for sure. We face it here. You know, I've been in rural America almost my entire life. And it's one thing or another, whether you're talking about, we just met with a guy this past weekend who happened to be at a birthday party that I was at, and he has goats. He can't tell us that he can get us meat, milk for goats, raw milk. Can't tell us that. But he knows where he can get some stuff for us. You can't tell us that he'll give us raw milk. But and how stupid is that? It's coming for years and years and years. This comes directly out of the animals, and no, you've got to have it poisoned by the government before you can have it.
Yeah.
but you can tell a 6-year-old how to give a blowjob though.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what the hell world do we live in? I'll tell you the world. We've been through this. It's who's the prince of this world? That's the world that we live in, and that's why the stuff happens.
His name rhymes with Lucifer. Oh wait, it is Lucifer.
That's right. I can't tell you what his name is, but his initials are Satan. Yes. So, or should I say Satan? So I want to touch on something because y'all were talking about rhinos, and Jeff, you were saying like you felt like you belong more like you align more with like conservatives, but not necessarily the politicians and everything. And I want to bounce this off of you guys because this is an idea I had, I don't know, sometime in the last year. It just kind of dawned on me. I was like, wait a second, I think I finally figured it out. The people who they say they're like, Mitch McConnell's a rhino, Lindsey Graham's a rhino. Like, no, they're not. You are. They're
That's
Republicans.
what I used to say.
They're Republicans, and you are in name only because you're only doing that because you don't see any other choice. Because you think there's no other choice but to go with this party that has power, and you think they're better than the other party that has power. And so you're just like, well, I don't want to go to a party that doesn't have power because then I'm just spinning my wheels. And what you're actually doing is you're just continuing to feed the monsters that are on one side or the other. And both sides do it. Like people on the left do it because they think Democrats are better than Republicans and vice versa. So it's a very tricky thing to try to navigate, and people don't like to hear that because they love to think that they're actually Republicans. No, you don't understand. My daddy was a Republican, my grandpa was a Republican, and we're Republicans. These people aren't Republicans, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I don't even know if your grandpappy would recognize the Republicans that they think they are now. Anyway, it's
status quo.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And one thing that was instrumental in really pushing me out of that movement is just really coming to terms with the fact that just because a Republican is elected doesn't mean you're winning. So they want to be on a winning team. The problem is that when their team wins, they're not actually winning because the person that you're sending to Washington or wherever they're going, they're not going to really do what you want them to do. It's like the Super Bowl analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
try.
Oh yeah,
say the Super Bowl analogy. That was your cue, Donnie. Come on now.
I haven't said it in a while. I mean, just because the team wins Super Bowl rings, I mean, you get anything unless you did a bet or something and gambled on it.
It's like
you don't get the ring when your team wins a Super Bowl.
It's like the old Chris Rock thing about the OJ verdict. He's like, white people are too happy, or no, wait, black people are too happy, white people are too mad. He's like, I keep looking at my mailbox. I still hadn't got my OJ prize. It's just like, why are you so happy? Like he murdered two people and you're happy that he got off just like because they didn't do anything for you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it was. But
you know what? You know what too, you guys? I've been to the Capitol quite a few times this year for Texas. I went to Oklahoma's, Kentucky's, and I'm planning on doing Ohio soon.
Come to Indiana.
Yeah, I got to. That's where I was actually born and raised. It was Indiana.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So I've been going to these capitals and I've noticed something that's very frequent. When you tell them and show them what their legislation they're introducing is a violation of our constitutional rights, they said, leave it up to the courts.
Yeah.
Or my personal belief or my moral belief, they're enforcing, they're heavily, that's why I'm so advocate on pushing that these people are pushing their own moral beliefs on you guys. And they don't care if it violates your rights. They're going to let the courts decide. They're going to waste your time, make you pay for a lawyer, scare the crap out of you, think you're going to lose your whole livelihood because of course they're going to try to make you get a plea deal. And it's these people make it harder for everyone's lives. And then they turn around and reelect them again because it's better than a Democrat. But I will tell you this right now, when we're talking about criminal justice things, I've been doing better with Democrats than I have with Republicans. And the Republicans, a lot of them are introducing these bills that their people really realize what they were doing, would not agree with it. Yeah. And so I'll tell you another thing that's interesting. Texas's capital, they have people walking around with firearms, like rifles across their chests. Officers. Like I'm like, you guys are protecting your politicians with people like basically freaking, if you want to go there and go after the capital of Texas, you're gonna get shot and you're gonna die. And then and the thing is, like, they don't make sure that they stay in power and they're protecting their puppets the best they can. And my other issue I have with Kentucky's capital is you have to ask basically for permission to go up to their office, and you have to show a driver's license. Like, well, you shouldn't have to have a driver's license to go in and express your grievances. Well,
redress is a
there shouldn't be a driver's license. There shouldn't be a form of credentials such as identifications for you to be like, oh, I want to make some kind of statement upon um, some bullshit that's happening. So, for example, if you're in Chicago and you have nothing but big travel, your via CTA and your red lines, or your trains and public transit system, and that same thing happens. Not a lot of people have that.
Yep. And then also, guys, you have the metal detectors. Why is it you guys can walk around with armed people to protect you, but I gotta walk through a metal detector and I can't protect myself?
That's because you're not a pedophile. So and we've got to protect all of the pedophiles because I've stopped calling this past weekend, my brother at the birthday party was like, yeah, the elites. And I'm like, we gotta stop calling these assholes elites because they ain't elite at nothing. But except for raping little kids, they seem to be pretty good at that. And keeping the list hidden. So I've decided with all these people, I'm going to just start calling them the pedophile class because that is 9 times out of 10 who we're talking about. Most of these people have either done something that heinous or close. And I will say I'm sure there are exceptions, but that's the facts. And but at the same time, that's what they're trying to say. These people are better than us by making us, show ID and show our papers and do all this stuff like you're talking to. Well, God damn it, I kind of like to see their papers. I kind of like to see their shit when they come, because you know what? My neighbor's not going to rob my house, but boy, one of them cops comes into my house to help me. I bet you he winds up getting some shit.
I know that's right.
So to me, I think that one of the problems, and I'm a full-on anarchist, for me, the only difference between, and I like a lot of libertarians, don't take me wrong, but the only difference I see between any of the parties is how far they're willing to take the dick and of the state. And the Democrats are willing to go all the way over.
Marcus took his
balls.
Reckless pills last week,
and
he's just been talking reckless on this channel.
Oh, I love it. Send me some.
But the Democrats are willing to go all the way down through the balls, and the Republicans just take the whole thing. The Libertarians, they just kiss around the top a little bit. So I want it all gone. I want all. I want all of this.
You want it to have a full transition to female.
Yes, I would like to worship the female. Can we not get to that? Because if that means freedom, that's where I'm at. And that would be the opposite of male, right? Would be female. So, but at the same time, I have to tell you guys, I am so proud of the two of you. If we have done nothing else as a show, the fact that we lit a fire that was already kindled, I'll grant you, under the two of you, you have some of the most powerful voices I have ever heard in the freedom movement. And I've heard a lot. And I cannot wait to see where you go from here. Because I'm telling you, you come to Indiana, get involved in the LP here. I'll vote for any shit you guys want to do. Because I know. So I want to see you guys succeed. Where are you going from here?
Well, shout out to let me just say before you, because this might give you a little layup into that. So Brandon Lloyd came on and responded to the tweet or whatever when y'all retweeted for the show, and he said, "We finally got our Jay-Z and Beyonce." So like that's I'm just no expectations here, but that's kind of what we're looking for here.
I mean, I was brushing the dirt off my shoulder earlier, so
that's right.
I don't mind being the Jay-Z. Although I don't think I'm a good prototype for that, given the fact that I talk like Mitt Romney in a snowstorm. But
and I'm still doing my single ladies dance.
There you go. Holy cow, y'all brought it home. All right, I like it. Yeah, but no. So where are y'all? What's the plan?
We're focusing very locally. I mean, especially with Donnie's work, she focuses a lot on rural communities, and that's very much, you don't get much more local than that. I mean, she's gone to the state capitals and has participated in trying to make influence as far as legislation. And that's kind of where I'm going to, especially with my platform. I mean, I really am dedicating, probably at some point, it's going to be most of my platform to really highlighting local stories, because what people don't realize is that local politics is the most important. A lot of people will say that, but they don't really mean it,
Right.
because they know what's going on with the president. They know what's going on with Congress, but half of them, 90% of them couldn't tell you who their mayor is, what party he belongs to, or their city council, or their sheriff. And what I want to get people to see is that, first off, if you want corruption, it's right in your backyard. I guarantee you, if you're watching this, there's some corrupt stuff going on with your local government, and you don't know about it because your influencers, your media outlets only want to focus on the federal government and maybe some state level stuff here, especially when it concerns the culture wars. But that's the first reason, because they need to know that people are being abused in their communities. The second is because I think that the best shot that we have at getting to a freer society with liberty is to focus on getting the right people in at the local level who will push back on overreach coming from your state and federal government. One of the examples I always give is in Illinois. They passed an assault weapons ban earlier this year. Half of the county sheriffs in Illinois said, okay, you passed that, but we're not going to enforce it.
Yeah.
We need that everywhere. We need that everywhere. We need people like those sheriffs, like mayors, and like other offices to push back against those things. And when we have enough people, I mean, we're not going to win everybody, because a lot of people like to be ruled. They like to be told how to live and what to do. But you get enough people, then you can have a freer society where people can go if they actually want to be free. That's one of the reasons why I did start working with the Libertarian Party, especially, because the Mises Caucus came out with Decentralized Revolution. Their whole thing is we got to focus on these local races, and it's a long-term endeavor. It's not going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
But that's the way we get freedom. The federal government, it's gone. It's completely corrupt. It's infested with rot from both parties, equally doing different things that are corrupt. State governments, maybe to a lesser degree, but focus on the local first. So that's really part of our mission. That's really what we focus on.
Yeah,
in a way. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, and that's exactly what Murray Rothbard talked about as well. Just to give props to him as well. Is he talked about that if you can live in a state of anarchy between states, then why can't you between states, between countries, then states, and then if that works, well, how come you can't do it between counties and so on? And he said, we have to get down to where we're making decisions in our local communities.
Well, and in a way, like to your point about how there are still enough people, I think a lot of what has to be done is people need to continually be, we need to bear witness to the truth that we are all meant to be free, and that we are not, that no man is meant to rule over another man. Amen. And the more we do that, the more we open people's eyes to the things that they can try to inoculate themselves from, and kind of insulate themselves from. But I think in a certain sense, while we're on that path, while we're waiting, and we're still, everybody's worried about, well, who's going to take over next? Is it going to be Russia or is it going to be China? I kind of feel like, okay, let's imagine this is real life scenario that you have to deal with. You're worried that the company you work for is going to get bought out, and they're going to just start cleaning house and bringing their own people in, and you're going to end up on the outs and looking for another job, or you're going to end up in trouble or something under some horrible management or whatever it is. Well, now's a really good time for you to take care of the business that is under your stewardship and do a really good job of making sure that when that new company comes in, that you are secure in your area, and that you don't have to worry about whatever the new corporate policy is or anything like that. But what you do also in the midst of that is, by doing that, you're strengthening the decentralized local areas, because you are strengthening yours. You can't control the whole rest of the world. If you're not taking care of your family, your kids, your own health, then, well, naturally, what's going to happen when they say, hey, the magic virus is coming, it's going to get you, don't worry, we have magic needles to wave at it, and it's it's 100%
Give you
effective.
myocarditis.
Psych, it's a 75% effective. Psych, it's not effective at all, but we're gonna say it's still effective because it doesn't kill you as fast. This is what you're naturally gonna fall for if you're not taking care of yourself and taking care of your local area around you.
Right. And then my goal, what we say, is to start flipping people from authoritarian beliefs, waking them up. It's been so amazing to get people to say, Donnie, you are one of the reasons, or Jeff, you're one of the reasons why I've decided to change my mind on what I say when I see police interacting with people. They're starting to change their minds on authority and what authority do they actually have. Because we were, growing up, school taught you authority. Oh, military people, you should respect them. They're amazing. Cops, you should respect them. They're amazing. Your politicians, call them the honorable when you send them a letter. I want to change that mindset. I really want to start doing it, like we said, at a local level. I know we're not as, I think we're bad off like Argentina in a sense of the rulership we have here, not as being hungry and as poor. But what Javier Milei is doing over in Argentina could be done in the States. I feel like people should not, glorify certain human beings and put them on a pedestal and make them deities. But if that's what people need to get in the right path and direction, we need folks in different states to be able to do that. Argentina is bigger than California, Texas. It's bigger than those places. You can do that. If he can do that in Argentina, what he's doing, he's in the front runner and he's winning by a lot. Why can't we do that in our states? I think if people really start focusing on their city and pulling out the ordinance, most people, when they see a cop pull behind them, they get a little uncomfortable or afraid that you're going to pull me over and extort me or something. When you see a fire truck, you don't see that. But if we can change the behaviors, like start getting your ordinance out, pull it out, show up to council meetings, and don't do like an Alex Stein dude and just be goofy and try to do it for clicks and likes and cash. Do it because you really mean it. Start showing up on a regular basis so you can expose these tyrants for what they really are. And that's my goal, is to get more people like Jeff, Donnie, you guys are here today, out in their community, educating them and getting them off that authoritarian titty.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're right, because what we need, what we've gotten in the past, what has been handed to us is, them making out everyone like us, regardless of what titles, just people that believe in liberty, that we want you to be poor, and we want you to not have your stuff, and we want you to not, to starve to death and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, they actually cause those problems. Yeah. They actually are the ones that are stripping the money away, causing poverty. And one of the things I think I like particularly about you guys is not only because Aristotle said an education of the mind is meaningless without an education of the heart. And what I see from you guys is that not only do you get it here, you get it here. Your heart is in the right place. You want to help people. And that is kind of like, that's the activist in us all who is trying to reach out and grab the world and say, wake up. Can we not just love one another? Can we not just let people that are different be different? Can we not? And those kinds of things. And you guys are excelling at that. I've seen what you're doing. I love your projects and how you're moving forward, because you're bringing not only the head, but the heart. Because, the heart by itself is meaningless. I mean, I want things to happen. I don't know how, so you need both. And I see that within you guys. And I just want to commend you for that. And I also think that one of the things that anarchists need to learn is that when you're doing the local things, the stuff that you and Jeff, Donnie are talking about, we need to be ready to support you. I'm not a voter. That's not something I do. I don't vote because I don't see the point in it. I don't buy into the voting is violence and all that nonsense. I don't agree with that, but I'm not going to vote for a bunch of dumb shit. I don't vote for evil. But if you are doing something in my community or near my community, I'm going to get out and I should help do everything that I can. Maybe I don't go vote. Maybe there are anarchists out there that they just won't do it. Now, me, if one of you guys were in my district and you were running for something, I'm voting. It is.
Yeah,
That's what it's at, where it's at. But they should, you don't have to vote to support people and enlarge the message. You can get out. I've done it. I put my feet to the ground and done the hard work of passing out bullshit for people and doing all that stuff. And so we've got to get the anarchists on our side. We've got to get anarchists engaged in, yes, we want to get rid of the state in every way possible. And if we can lessen them by the ballot box, let's fucking do it.
Right.
And I would say in that same vein, especially with the Liberty movement, not necessarily the Libertarian Party, but the Liberty movement, one thing that Donnie and I have really been trying to hammer home is that you got to be involved, like you said, Marcus. Maybe you don't vote for somebody, but maybe if your city council is doing something that they shouldn't be doing, you go and protest. You show up to the meetings and you support people who do. Right now, if you think about it, who's really standing up for people's rights? Okay, if a black guy gets shot by the police, you'll have Democrats show up. You'll have progressives, you'll have leftists, and then you'll also have some libertarians too. That's about it. They don't really show up for much else. I mean, they may, and it just doesn't get a whole lot of media attention, but the left knows how to protest. They know how to raise a ruckus. Republicans don't show up at all. I mean, they don't, I mean, if somebody's rights are being violated at the local level, they're more concerned about what's happening to Trump. Yeah. So that's where that's an opportunity for us. And I've even cut back on really pointing out a lot of the stupid crap that the conservative movement does, because I want them to lose. I do. I want them to lose. And, I might point it out to be funny. I might point it out for the conservatives who actually are serious and who are probably more libertarian anyway. They just don't identify that way. So I'll point it out for that reason. But the thing is, we have an opportunity to start making a difference. You have people like Spike Cohen with his organization, You Are the Power. You've got people like Chase Oliver. You've got people, all kinds of people who I may not even agree with on everything, but they show up. When the government is doing something that they shouldn't be doing, they're showing up to make their voices heard and to act and to make the government afraid to do it and to cow them into submission. It can be done. We always think that even local governments are just so powerful and so invincible. No, Spike Cohen has gotten governments to back off on some things. Imagine if we were all that involved. I mean, there's a lot of us, and it may not be all anarchists. Maybe there's some minarchists too. But imagine if we were all involved in that way. You'd have Democrats showing up for police stuff, but nobody else is filling that void. We need to be out there doing it. We need to be visible doing it. We need to be pumping that up on social media so that people can see, well, wait, these are the guys who are showing up to fight for people's rights. And guess what? The people who are being fought for, they become libertarians.
Yep. It happened with a guy in Arkansas. He's wearing a libertarian t-shirt. Him and his wife like, yeah, we're libertarians now. A lot of people in the game foul community, the leadership is okay. Let's start voting for people that are libertarians. What is their platforms? They go and talk to them at the tables. They've invited them. They normally charge like maybe $200, $300, $500 for a booth. They let the Libertarian Party come for free. Nice. So that's awesome. My thing is, if we could find allies, this is a big part of that libertarian thing. I think that's what y'all help me do too, is realize, okay, you need allies, Donna. You can't just attack everybody. So
I mean, you can, but it's just you end up by yourself, like like just standing in the room, like. All right.
Absolutely. If you think about all the people who've been targeted and oppressed by the government, we can have that coalition. We can come together and go against the government. Just because you may not like something I do or partake in or consume, doesn't mean that I don't have the right to do it. Same vice versa. So like if you want to horse race or greyhound race or any of those things, that's on you. You want to do that or not. If you want to smoke pot, eat magic mushrooms or do those things, just come together and go against the government and say, leave me alone. Right. And I think another big issue is they've told you to pay only attention to the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, where the Ninth Amendment is basically like, you actually have no authority to create any law ruling over me. But
you're out of your jurisdiction.
Yeah, and then they sit there and say, "Oh well, we'll just ignore it. Oh, this has no. It's not constitutional." I'm like, it's literally the 9th Amendment in the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you mean? And so
That's because they haven't read the damn
more
thing.
constitutional than others.
Bam. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy. You know, they've used the 9th Amendment for abortion, same-sex marriages, medical privacy, some freedom. But for licensing me to go hunt or fish, are you kidding me? People understand these little warrants, whatever you call those little forest people called forest. I'm calling forest cops.
Wardens.
Yeah.
Game wardens.
Yeah, and they're very tyrannical.
You know what game wardens usually are? Game wardens are usually ex-poachers. No, I'm not even joking. Like that's like what they look for is like somebody who knows. It's like what the guy from Catch Me If You Can, who they're like, hey, this guy needs to work for us. We need this guy working for the FBI because he figured out how to steal all this money from people and how to print his own money and everything else. Like we need that guy on our team.
You know what? That's a good. Thank you for telling me that because that kind of helps me with my building my little arguments and stuff that I'm doing now. Because a lot of these AR people, a lot of these AR people were into doing animal sports before, and now all of a sudden they turn and now they're going against the people. Now they see this money in it as a grift, or they weren't very good at it, so they're just haters.
I think Nicco has been trying to say something for like the last little bit. So no, I'm not. No, I just don't want me or Marcus to.
It wasn't.
Go ahead.
I'm more than likely forgot it, just like right now.
What I was going to say, and hopefully you'll catch it, Nicco. But what I was going to say was that, and there's a lot of history of exactly what Chad's talking about, because I mean, if you look at Project Paperclip and what they did with the Nazis, they brought them over here and turned them into NASA, turned them into a variety of different scientists that work for us. They said, "Oh, you're really good at terrorizing people. We need you on our side. Here you go. Right. Here's a nice little seat for you." And if anybody has any doubt, go look it up because they did that shit in spades. So they've got a lot of experience, but that's because evil begets evil. And that's just where it is. And when you are seeking to control other human beings, you are evil. You are trying to control other people's wills. You're trying to control other people's path. That is not for humans to do. Only God has any kind of sovereignty over what I do and what I do not do. So they need any time that somebody is trying to govern, to control you, then they are by nature the subject of evil.
I mean, I say any governing authority that goes beyond protecting your rights is evil. I mean, there's no other explanation. You want to throw somebody in a cage. You want to hold somebody at gunpoint, kidnap them, throw them in a cage because they consume a plant, or because they do things with their animals that you don't like, or because they drove too fast on the road and they don't want to pay the ticket or whatever, or they didn't have the right sticker on their car. You're supporting evil. And I think that one of the most challenging aspects of this is getting people to see it, because they take this stuff for granted. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat. They just take for granted that the government can just do these things, and it's the natural order of things, and that's the way it's supposed to be. And so, you know, we might want some limited government here and there or wherever, but they don't really understand what we're living under. I think, Chad, you brought the example of, you know, or you did, Donnie, when the officer pulls you over, when the lights come on, you get nervous. Why? Because there's the implied threat of violence. If you don't do what they say, they will kill you, or they will rough you up. If they give you a ticket and then you don't pay it, eventually they're going to send another one of those thugs over to your house to throw you in a cage and haul you in front of a judge. And I've learned to really be more precise with my language. You know, like they're not going to, like in California, if you don't affirm your kid's gender identity, they can take your kid away from you. They can arrest you. But I don't use those terms. No, they're not arresting you. They're not taking your kid away. They're coming to your house with thugs, with guns and badges, and force and physically removing that child from your care under the threat of physical violence, because they will rough you up if you try to stop them.
Kidnapping.
It's kidnapping. And then they take them to another place where they continue to indoctrinate them, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And when you really start to open your eyes to that, it's very hard to continue supporting the state. And I think when I say things like that, it causes a lot of cognitive dissonance with people who are still very much in a statist mindset, because they want to use these pretty terms like arrest or taxes. No, that's not taxes. You're not voluntarily giving that, because they'll throw you in a cage if you don't. They're stealing from you. If a guy mugs you at the ATM with a gun and you give him your money, you're not doing that because you're so generous and because he's doing a good thing. No, you don't want to get shot. And when you do that, you're not coming away like, well, I did my civic duty. I gave that robber my cash. But we do that with the government.
I did my civic duty. I think he was struggling. Nicco, did you remember what you were going to try to ask?
No, it wasn't about asking. It was more about a statement.
Oh, well, go ahead then.
I mean, it was back when Donnie was talking about the needing permits and going back to the gardening, just like how you can have a garden in front of your front house. And that's where like the most sunlight hits. If you look at how houses are built, most of the sunlight hits your front room opposed to it being in your back room or in the back. And so since it's more shaded and there's a lot more regulations, then you got to go up to the courthouse and be like, hey, can I build this garden here? And they'd be like, it has to be 2 by 2. And so like they tell you how big your garden can be and the regulations of having a garden and things of that nature. It's like,
oh yeah, they're doing so much. Y'all gonna have to have doggy mansions that own dogs coming up. I'm not even playing with you. They're gonna have air conditioning, everything.
Yeah. The thing is, though, it's all about compliance. Stop complying. At the end of the day, there might be a regulation in my town. I don't know how big my garden can be. Fuck those people. I'm gonna have my garden as big as I want.
Marcus is just like, I'm just growing my garden. Leave me alone.
Right, exactly. Voltaire.
So, I wanted to say,
t-shirt. Fuck those people.
You're talking about the precise language. Have either of you ever read Atlas Shrugged? And I'm not necessarily sitting here to like tout everything about Ayn Rand, but you haven't you, Jeff?
I've gotten like 50-60% of the way through it.
Okay, so you read Hank Rearden's speech in the courthouse, right? Where he talks about like the end of your argument is a gun, and they're all like, no, we don't want it to come to that. We just want you to stop making this metal because it's not right. It hasn't been approved yet. He's like, no, I'm gonna make my metal. Like, you want me to stop? Come and stop me. Come and send armed men, have them grab me, drag me, haul me away, and put me. Nobody wants to do that. Like, this is the BS. Like, I can't remember who it was. It was Harry Reid, I think, who said that like the income tax is voluntary. I'm like, I mean,
I stopped paying yesterday then.
I mean, not really, because like if I don't pay it, you're going to take all my shit from me eventually. Like, there's some steps, but again, to Hank Rearden's point and Ayn Rand's point, at the end of the argument is a gun. The end
every time.
It's like this is funny. So there's this really funny meme, and it's like these different iPhone screens, and one of them is like a cross, and it's like Temple Run, like it's like the smears on your screen from your fingers or whatever. One of them is Temple Run, then the other one is like the jumping thing where like you make the little ball bounce and it just slides side to side. Then the other one is just a bunch of squiggles all across, and that's Fruit Ninja. And then the other one is, it says losing an argument on the internet, and it's just a bunch of dots, but they're exactly placed where it's the N-word typed out. And so it's like that's their like go-to is like it's not the N-word, but it's jail and guns and confiscation of all your stuff. Oh, you didn't pay your $4,000 a year property tax bill? Well, it doesn't matter how much your house is worth. We're taking it and everything in it and locking you out of it, and we're going to auction it all off.
And if we sell it for more than what it's actually worth, we're going to keep the money.
Yeah.
There's been a few cases involving that lately.
Yep. And I still don't know how that's not theft. I guess, because we're starting to get close to time to wrap up. One thing that I do want to point out, because Jeff, I think you're absolutely right about calling things as they are, saying, if it's theft, it's theft. If it's kidnapping, it's kidnapping. And one of the things I also think when we're talking to people that's important that I learned from Walter Block, and that is when they say, for instance, and he was using the example of the roads, and without government, who would build the roads? Well, how the fuck are the roads doing now? Point out that they are incompetent now. It's not working now.
And also point out that roads are antecedent to government. Like, we had roads
right
before we had government building roads. There were roads before there was a Department of Transportation. There was education before there was a Department of Education. There was agriculture before there was a Department of Agriculture. All of this stuff is just a Johnny-come-lately grift bag where they just want to skim their little tribute off the top.
Yeah, and I want to point this out too when we're having these discussions. When they say, "Oh, where in the Constitution it say you have the right to consume marijuana?" You say, "Where in the Constitution does it give the government authority to say I can't have marijuana?" Specifically, show it to me. They can't. They
Where does
usually
it say in the
say-
Constitution that I can eat tomatoes?
Exactly.
I mean, seriously, what the fuck? Where does it say I can go to Jersey Mike's in the Constitution? It doesn't. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to go.
Oh, it's covered. All powers which are not delegated by this document are to be considered the rights of the states or the people. That's a paraphrase, but it's close.
Yeah.
And Chad, what you were alluding to when you're talking about, there was education before the Department of Education, yada, yada, yada. That reminds you of that Frederick Bastiat quote. It's my favorite. I don't have it memorized, but basically it says the socialist, and I would translate that the statist, thinks that if you don't want government to do something, that means that you don't want it to be done at all. And I'm telling you, people on the right and the left have this. They just have it in different ways. Oh, let's abolish the FBI. A conservative before what they did to Trump would say, well, who's going to take care of all those interstate crimes and all that? It can't be done. Okay, we didn't always have an FBI. It was handled then. We have much better technology now. The states can work together. But it's getting people to think outside of the government paradigm, because we've all been brainwashed to see things in that way. And even when you become an anarchist, you'll still see some of that in your brain. You'll think in that way, and then you have to check yourself.
Well, and the other thing too is that it's so first we had these things. We are human beings. All these things that are done. Who's going to build the roads? People. The same thing that's building them now. People will build the roads. We will find a way. We've always found a way. That's what we do. So there's that, and it's all these things are antecedent to the government programs that choose to, or that seek to regulate, control, and profit off of them. But the other thing is too, I want people to really start to listen to either the arguments that you yourself try to make when we talk about removing the shackles of government from ourselves, and start to talk about dismantling this stuff and returning power to the individual. The arguments that are often made, listen to them, whether someone is making this argument to you or whether you're beginning to form this argument in your brain and leading it to your lips. Are you describing something that is currently happening with government in place? Because more often than not, when someone tells me, well, what are you going to do when somebody murders somebody? I'm like, I don't know. What do they do when somebody murders somebody now and they get away with it? There's people getting away with murder all the time. This idea that somehow the anarchist state is going to make it to where more people are going to be able to get away with something. No, the government is murdering people more than individuals are murdering each other. And actually, I think if you look into a lot of the stress and trauma that's caused on people, it's because of the reason why people want to go out and steal is because they can't afford to live under the system that exists, because the system is oppressive. It's naturally oppressive. And so you're gonna, a rose is gonna try to grow out of the concrete, and I don't know, some people might get cut by the thorns while it's doing it, but like you can't blame the rose. You have to look at like, well, what system did you create around it that made it want to break out of that like it did? So
yeah, instead of solving these murders, they're out here extorting people, and then it's like, what you want
parked
to go
under
to
the
police?
interstate with a radar gun,
Right. And honestly, it's probably a bunch of these thugs that are out here murdering people anyways. They do remind me of the mafia and stuff. They're probably out here murdering people. That's why the murder goes unsolved, because they did it.
Yeah.
And I think,
well, they're either trying to murder people or they're putting them in the back seat of the cop car and going to town on them. Y'all
Yeah,
saw
I
that
saw
video,
that.
right?
I did.
Yo, that was.
but you think about it, like everybody
Nicole
knows
said
that
it best.
like everybody knows that the government kills people. We all know
Yeah.
that. The reason why we accept it is because the government makes people feel secure. And if you think about most of the legislation that's passed, it's feel-good legislation. It doesn't actually help. Gun control is a great example. They can pass another gun control law. It's not going to do a damn thing, but it makes people feel good.
And babe, it's the media too, because whenever someone is in trouble.
Wait, did you just say, babe, it's the media? Oh shit. Okay. We heard it. There it was. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue your point, Johnny, but I couldn't let that just slide right by. You did a little drive-by, babe. Okay. All right.
Well, it's also the media, because it's only one-sided story. Your attorneys tell you don't talk to the press, don't tell your side of the story, and then the cops and the DAs and the judges have made a narrative about you that makes an innocent person look guilty, and they put your face and your mugshot out there for everyone to see, and it's embarrassing, and it's like, oh, your mugshot's out there, you must be a bad person, and so the media helps fuel that. And they'll make excuses. With eminent domain in Texas, they were making excuses why it was okay to oppress people.
Yeah, the press is just another arm of the government, as far as I'm concerned. I'm saying that as somebody who is the press. I am the press, and I say that in a lot of ways. A lot of members of the press, the elite media, they're just another arm of the government.
Right. Like, when is it sexy to have a mugshot? Like, okay, oh, look, Trump's got a mugshot. And all these people are making soft jokes and stuff about having a mugshot. It's just like, oh, now it's a joke. It's never a joke for people, real life people, to be affected and targeted by the state.
Right.
But it's cool when Trump gets it, though.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's fake anyway. Like, it's just like some BS.
Yeah, it doesn't look real.
If I got arrested and thrown in jail and had to get a mugshot, it'd ruin my whole life. I'd probably lose my job. I'd probably, my family wouldn't have my income for however long I'm gone, which would mean we'd probably lose our house. You're absolutely right. That's not something we should be glorifying. And frankly, I get that Trump's part of the problem, but the thing is, this is part of the proof, because he complied when he shouldn't have. He should have said no. I would have had respect for him if he said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hang out in Florida. I'm going to put his money where his mouth is. I'm going to make DeSantis put my ass up. That's what I'd have done if I was Trump.
Yep. And then here's one more other thing about the mugshots. Serial killers and criminals have trophies. Sometimes they want trophies. Do people not realize that's the government's trophies to get your face on the camera and then putting something under your name, claiming you're something that you may or may not be, without being proven guilty first?
Yep.
Yep. That and civil asset forfeiture is another trophy where they'll take pictures with all the drugs and money and guns and everything that they stole out of somebody's apartment or out of their car or whatever it is. And it's it's a shame, because you will see people applauding it, and it's like, man, this is like, they're coming for you next. Like, it's just a matter of time before they run out of money from those victims, and then they got to come after somebody else. So
that's the problem, and that's why I would say, don't think for a second this can't happen to you. I said that when we spoke at the eminent domain protest in San Antonio. Yeah, they're coming after Vince, but they'll come after you and people that you love. It's only a matter of time.
Yep. Yeah. The thing that people need to really understand is we do live in a two-party system, and that two-party is the state and you.
Ours.
Talk about it. Preach.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that
Marcus,
we're trying to get people to see. And it is funny because even today I was on Twitter, or X, whatever. I'm gonna call it Twitter. You know, they're talking about all these prosecutions with Trump, you know, the leader of the Proud Boys. I'm like, yeah, that's bad. But the thing is, they only think it's bad because it's happening to people they like. I'm like, this happens to the left too. Y'all just don't know about it because your media won't report on it.
They cheer for it. They're happy about it. I had this very thing.
Right.
So listen, I had this very thing with, and this may be controversial even with our audience. I don't know. We'll see. But so like I do some work with some people locally here, and there's some legislation that we tried to get passed that was going to make things easier for us in terms of like our health freedom and making it to where like, so Louisiana has some really good vaccine exemption laws and everything. But one of the things that they do, like the school doesn't have to let you know that you can file for an exemption. They can tell you it's required, it's mandatory, and that's it. And you can't, and then you have to actually know the law, go yourself and be like, no, listen, and then they push back and then they interrogate you and they can't. Like, all you have to do is say, I dissent. And that's it. Like we have one of the most robust protections against mandatory vaccines in the country. Well, so that was one of them. And they pushed back. We lost that one where they don't have to disclose that. They don't have to disclose your freedom to you. They can just oppress you and pretend like you don't have that freedom. But one of the other laws that, or one of the other pieces of legislation that some of the people in our group were trying to push was one that made it to where they were going to make it like illegal for some of these weirdo parents to like transition their children. And like, it starts to get to a point where I'm like, okay, listen, I understand where you're coming from, that this is unnerving to you and it's upsetting, but this is going to blow back on you because you might not want to put shots in your children. And when you start to push legislation that makes it to where parents and their children, if their children says they're a different gender or whatever, and they start going through this process with their kid, they're weirdos and they're going to do like, who knows what kind of stuff they're indoctrinating their kid with already. So like, you think that you're stopping it. It's kind of the same to me as like the abortion stuff where it's like, you're going to force a woman who doesn't want to have a baby to have that baby. Like, that's what you're going to do. Like, you're going to make her do it. And then what, did she have to raise it or she have to put it up for adoption? What do you think she's going to do? Like, she's going to be like drinking and smoking and trying to kill the baby some other way. Like, you're just creating, what we need to do is try to meet people with love on an individual level and talk to them as human beings and try to guide them in a way that helps them to make better decisions. But when you start doing stuff where you're like, okay, you can't, your children aren't your own. We're going to take your kids from you if you try to do this. Okay, well, that's the same shit that those people try to do if you don't want to get their measles shot.
Yeah.
They want to try to do the same thing. So you gotta pick, either you're principled on like personal liberty or you're not. But you can't just pick and choose. And it's like, well, the cops are kicking down their door and taking their kid from them, but it's okay. Their kid was a tranny. Like, what? Like, how does that become okay now that like you can take those people's kids away from them, but it's not okay to take other people's kids away from them?
Well, and there's also the danger that people will pass those laws and then think, okay, we don't have to do anything anymore because the government's got it.
Exactly.
So like prostitution. I don't think they should they should be locking people in cages for it, but I don't approve of it. I think it shouldn't be a thing. But society has to take care of that. It's we the people as a society, we can help people get out of those lives. I mean, churches do it all the time. And we actually talked about that the first time I was on the show. And it's got to be the community. And we have, as communities, we have abdicated our role to the government and really replaced God with the government. The government can't take care of most of this stuff. We have to do it.
100%.
Yeah. So Deb Goldstein said it best like a week ago, where he said, like, this is a failure of Christians to do their job to make it to where if you were doing your job and like actually going out into the world and being fishers of men, we wouldn't have this problem.
I think Jesus is an anarchist, though. Based off his while he was here, did he go to the crown and tell them to force his will on people? No, he didn't.
Yep. Yeah. If you ever get a chance to watch our conversations with Mark Kreslins, he covers this.
Yeah.
Really?
Massively.
He's like a hardcore Christian and a hardcore anarchist.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's great. No, he's great.
So you guys have a lot going on, and we've only scratched the surface. Why don't you give your plugs and tell everybody what you're doing? I know you got some books, you got lots of stuff going on. Tell us what's going on.
Ladies first, babe.
My platform is libertyorelse.com, and I'll be using it to help get information out there about what's going on with your states, depending on what states I'm really heavily focused in. Legislation and sharing my platform in a sense with the RAOA, Human Defense League, TGBA, which is Texas Game Foul Breeder Association. And I'm actually going to be working to introduce some legislation as well. I have some attorneys looking at what I'm having going on. And I'm actually writing something. Let me know if y'all like this idea of the name of the pamphlet. I'm going to start printing it off and passing out to people locally, start having meetings and going over it, maybe start studying it. It's going to be Vices, Crimes, and the Pursuit of Happiness. And it's going to be focused. It actually is pretty much almost done. Jeff has read it pretty much, and I ain't as good as him. So I got some things to tweak still. But it's about 13 pages long. And I actually posted a picture on Facebook, Twitter and Facebook today of what the cover looks like. And it's going to cover vices on crimes, and it needs to be distinguished in between, or no man can be free, like Lysander Spooner says. And also covering the Ninth Amendment. What happened? Like, what did the founders say? What did the Federalists say? Why about the Bill of Rights being there? What not and whatnot. Sorry, I'm so excited. I'm talking fast. But I'm really excited about this pamphlet because I had Jeff read it, and I think he said it can change people's minds. He learned some stuff from it. And so libertyorelse.com. I'll put it on my website when it's completely done. Also, if you all want copies, email libertyorelse@proton.me, libertyorelse@proton.me, and I'll send you a PDF file so you can print it off yourself, come pour, and you can pass it out for me.
Yeah, I will definitely want that.
If I
can get that, like, just get me on Twitter, because I'll pass it out.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Jeff Charles Jr., Jeff Charles Jr. And you can check out my Substack, which is called Chasing Liberty, which is the same name as the book that's going to be coming out pretty soon that I've written. I've finished writing it. It's in the proofreading stage, so I'm going to be putting that out very soon, Chasing Liberty. And you can get to my Substack at libertychasers.com. You can check out my podcast, A Fresh Perspective with Jeff Charles. And you can check out my work on redstate.com and Newsweek Opinion.
There we go. Nicco, you got anything you want to add? I thought you were leaning in. My bad.
Oh, no. I mean, great conversation. Thank you for coming through. It's always a pleasure to have you guys on and hear from you all's perspective. Nothing but blessings and on your endeavors out in Kentucky or Texas, whichever one you decide. And
I think they should look at Indiana.
I said I was never going back, but I don't know. Jeff was there. He liked it. He had Pizza King for the first time in Evansville.
I've never heard of Pizza King.
I like Pizza King.
It's the best.
I'm sorry, I'm in Chicago.
See, and I'm a big Cubs fan. I cannot stand Chicago style pizza. I don't like.
Oh, wait. Which one are we talking about? Are you talking about? No, we also have a brick oven that we also like. We have two types of pizzas. So it's the deep dish, and then there's like the flat style. That's like
so I'll do the flat style. Yeah.
Square cut. That's more like
that's
a hit.
Okay. The square cut
like
flat.
pizza.
I'm good.
That's a man of culture in the top right, yeah.
All right,
with the sauce on top of the cheese and all that. That's my jam right there.
For sure.
Yeah, and as long as there's pineapples on it, it's great.
Okay, yeah, no.
He lost me with pineapples.
Grand opening,
Sweet and savory is not bad. Y'all just haters in the taste buds, okay?
I don't mind pineapple and pizza. I know Jeff's gonna hate me for
keep
that.
the ham, but like pineapple, you can finesse with that.
It's got to be. You got to like cook it. You got to grill it really, really well, though.
I like pineapple.
It's got to be sweet pineapple.
I don't like them
be
together.
They're like fresh out the green box. Like, no, I can't do that.
All right, Marcus has to go take care of
Monopoly.
his wife, so We gotta.
Yeah, I do.
We need to let
Well,
my man Marcus
again,
go.
guys, you guys have
And
been
Donnie
an
and
inspiration
Jeff about
to
to get
us.
kicked out of the library too. So.
Right. And you guys have been an inspiration to us to keep going,
Absolutely.
keep moving, because if we can change minds like yours and move you a little bit to the more towards freedom, 100%, that's what we're here for. So I just advise anybody who hasn't heard of you guys, definitely go check these two out. They're amazing voices, and I'm looking forward to seeing where they go from here. And Donnie, definitely hit me up with PDF. I already got Hotep Dutch wanting a copy and me to send him a copy. So definitely hit me up with that in Twitter,
Okay.
in the
Yeah,
DM and Twitter.
Their freedom fire was already burning. We just like squirted some
I know.
lighter fluid in the direction of Lysander Spooner and Frederick Bastiat and showed them that where that was, and then they went over there, and then they like lit the world on fire. Like it was
For
like
sure.
it's crazy. Like y'all really I'm impressed. I'm very I'm happy to know y'all. I'm honored to know you guys and to watch what you guys are doing, and I just can't wait for like, man, y'all's kids and stuff like that. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of the game or anything like that, but like if it ends up in that, you know, because I don't know, it's a race between Patriot Jay and Olivia and y'all two. Like, who's gonna make the best?
You're
The
putting
best,
pressure on them.
Huh?
You throwing a lot of dirt.
I
pressure.
know. I
Well,
know.
it's a race. It's a race to see who can make the best like black anarchist babies. Like that's what I want to see. I want to see it. I want to see it.
Awesome.
So,
all right.
Anyway,
Well,
no, appreciate y'all very much.
Chad's right. My wife is not feeling well, so I need to get out of here. And to everybody, don't forget to stay free.
Peace, y'all.